Hello everybody, this is my 46th review of films to come out in 2025, and today I'm talking about Honey Don't. There will be some spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled for the movie, watch this after you see it. Honey Don't was directed by Ethan Coen. He's also the writer of the film along with his wife, Trisha Cook. And this is the second movie in their lesbian B-movie trilogy, the first being Drive Away Dolls from last year, which I talked about a bit in my 2024 year ranking video. Overall, I liked it. It's not great, but it's enjoyable. But would I recommend Honey Don't? Absolutely not. I am a huge fan of the Coen brothers. For a while now, I've considered them my favorite working directors. And I've really enjoyed just about every single movie they've ever made. But if you didn't know, they've kind of split up. They're directing movies on their own. Joel directed a movie called Tragedy of Macbeth, which I talked about before. I thought it was a little underwhelming, but very well made. And then obviously Ethan made Drive Away Dolls last year, which again, I found kind of underwhelming, but I still enjoyed it. Honey Don't, however, I think is genuinely terrible. It is unbelievably bad considering Ethan Coen's track record. I saw some people saying that they liked this better than Drive Away Dolls, so I actually decided to rewatch it a couple nights ago, and no, that movie is leagues better than this in just about every single way. That movie is not perfect, but it has funny moments. The performance by Margaret Qualley is especially funny, the story is straightforward, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's kind of stylish in a goofy way. There's like these acid trip scenes, which I thought were kind of pointless at first, but no, they actually do have a great payoff. And there's these like ridiculous spinny transitions. You can say they look terrible, you can say they look straight out of Windows Movie Maker, but at least they clearly establish a tone. After seeing a ridiculous spinny transition like that, I know this is a goofy, lighthearted movie. Honey Don't has none of this. So let's get into why this movie is bad. The main reason, for me at least, was this movie is exceptionally boring. It's genuinely the most bored I've ever felt at a movie theater in so long that I don't even remember the last time I felt this bored. Even though the movie is under 90 minutes. I was just so immediately checked out to a point where I honestly don't feel like I can criticize this movie that well. Because I had such a hard time paying attention to this. I usually find it pretty hard to articulate what makes a movie boring, but I'll do my best with this one. A lot of the characters in this movie talk in sort of an old-time Hollywood way that just feels incredibly out of place. Like in the first scene of this movie, Charlie Day is talking to Margaret Qualley and being like, "Hey Toots, can I finally get a date with ya?" And then Margaret Qualley is like, "I've already told you this before, I'm into girls." And then Charlie Day is like, that's what you always say." It becomes sort of a running joke throughout the movie, but it's not funny or anything. It's just awkward. A lot of the dialogue in this movie is meant to be quirky, but it just feels so out of place because the tone is not clearly established. The editing is incredibly bland, which is so weird for a Coen Brothers movie. They usually have such a great rhythm with editing, but yeah, this movie does not have that at all. There's very little music during the first half as well, which makes it feel especially bland. The story feels incredibly confused, like it's constantly changing its mind between being really over the top and grounded in reality. And the result is just nothing in this movie works because I don't know what I'm supposed to feel. The other really bad moment, similar to the Charlie Day, like old-timey Hollywood acting, is the scene with a piano player in a bar. And I don't remember exactly what she said, but it's something like, "You know, in this town, you gotta just appease everybody and you gotta put your wants aside. Just do what society tells you." Something really on the nose and dumb like that. And that was the first moment where I really went, oh my god, this movie is awful. I love ensemble movies. The Coens are really good at introducing a lot of characters and plot lines and having them all come together in unexpected ways. Burn After Reading is an absolutely masterful example of that by them. But in this movie, they just keep introducing new characters, a lot of whom you don't even see again later in the movie. They just don't affect the story at all. They just are introduced and abandoned. And it just feels like a total mess. There's one part of this movie where I felt like things were coming together. It's a gory action scene that takes place about a third or halfway through the movie, and it felt out of place tonally because it's so gory and bloody, and the movie was kind of silly before that, I think. But there's really good usage of music and sound design, and I was like, oh, Maybe this movie was really reserved and quiet and bland beforehand, so this scene could have a greater impact. Maybe after this point, things will get a little more stylish, but no. I was hoping at the very least, maybe all of these characters and all of these setups will come together in a really cool way at the end, but it absolutely did not. One of the most confusing scenes in the entire movie was a scene where Margaret Qualley and Aubrey Plaza are at a bar on a first date talking about like knitting or quilting or something, and then they start moaning during the conversation like they're touching each other under the counter of the bar. This scene felt like a fucking Mad Lib. It felt like Margaret Qualley and Aubrey Plaza at bar stools talking about quilting sexually. Like, what was the decision-making process like for putting all of those elements together? And I could not stop thinking to myself the entire time, why are you doing this at a bar stool? It's like the one place in a restaurant where you can sit and everybody around you can see what you're doing under the table with your hands. Why here? Go to a booth or something. The whole movie is just full of really weird, confusing details, which make it feel like some inside joke or something. Like, Margaret Qualley in this movie is supposed to be from Bakersfield. Why does she have a southern accent? The ending where Aubrey Plaza is revealed to be a villain who is obsessed with people not being victims or something is so odd to me. The dialogue where she's explaining her motivation is really bad, and whatever point the movie is trying to make with this just didn't come across or work at all. I don't really have much more to say about this. Again, I was barely paying attention to this movie. Sorry I'm not going into more depth, but I just can't. I feel like this movie exited my brain the moment I walked out of the theater. In terms of things I liked the opening credits, I liked some of the sound design choices, I liked some of Carter Burwell's music, there's some well-directed sequences at certain points of the movie, but for the most part, it's just awful, especially in terms of the writing. The portrayal of lesbians in Drive Away Dolls felt pretty out of touch. A lot of the jokes are super sexual as well, and it's just odd. Like, there's so many dildo jokes throughout the movie, and the characters are constantly talking about other women and getting laid. It's just very cartoony. But it doesn't really upset me that much in that movie, because the whole movie feels very silly and over the top, so that stereotypical portrayal doesn't bother me as much. But in Honey Don't, because the tone is unclear, the stereotypical portrayal of lesbians just comes off so much worse. Like, it feels like Wes Anderson or something just learned what a lesbian is and 2 things about them and decided to make an entire movie about them. And how quirky they are. One of my friends who I saw the movie with even said afterwards that that movie made her feel embarrassed to be a lesbian. I've looked a little further into Trisha Cook's filmography, and I guess the only other movies she's made are also about lesbians. Like, she wrote and directed a short film that I just watched called Don't Mess with Texas. It's about 2 lesbians who walk into a Texas bar and are trying to start a fight with everybody, and eventually they learn that the waitress is a lesbian as well, and that the bar is actually very tolerant. It's fine, I guess. It's kind of a funny concept, although there is some pretty cringy dialogue in it.
Is the apple pie good here? For dykes?
All right, and for your friend here?
We're not friends.
I spank her.
Till I come.
Clitterly.
The reason I bring it up is just to say, I think that is a lot closer to Honey Don't and Drive Away Dolls than any Coen Brothers movie is. And I guess that's just the direction that Trisha Cook and Ethan Coen have decided to take, but I'm just really not sure they're the ones who should be making a lesbian B-movie trilogy. Because the portrayal of lesbians, especially in this movie, is stereotypical in a way I think is unintentional. So why are they making a lesbian B-movie trilogy if they're out of touch and stereotyping lesbians? It just feels weird to me, but we'll have to see how Go Beavers is when that comes out. I hope it's great, obviously. I have nothing against anyone working on these films. I've pretty much never disliked anything anyone in the cast or crew has ever done except for this movie. But, yeah, I hope it's just a fluke. I hope whatever they make next is really good. Just, right now, I'm astonished how bad this movie is. I was gonna give this 1.5 stars out of 5, but honestly, I think this is a 1 star from me. Tomorrow, I will make a review for Splitsville, so subscribe to see that. In the description, I will put a link to my Letterboxd list ranking all of the movies I've seen of 2025 so far. Here is the ranking so far, there's the movies, here is where Honey Don't is placed, and there's the rest. There should be a link to the YouTube playlist of all of my 2025 film reviews in the description. You can also find that on my channel page and right here on the left side of your screen. Thank you for watching. Comments and likes are very much appreciated. They help give me a boost in the algorithm. That's all I gotta say about Honey Don't. See ya.